Then I worked at NVIDIA for almost 8 years. I'm gonna conquer this thing overnight. I was actually building the product for myself initially. It failed left and right. It was super hard.
Welcome to the first episode of AllAboutAI.com exclusive interviews. Today we have a special guest who made investing more straightforward and accessible with his latest innovation, RAFA.ai, the investment assistant. Okay, so Abhinav is here. Let's start the interview.
First of all, thanks for having me on the call. So just to answer your question, so I've been a technical person all throughout my career. I started in computer science domain, and then I joined NVIDIA as a software engineer, and then I worked at NVIDIA for almost 8 years. Nice opportunity for me to actually get exposed to the best minds of the world, and it was an amazing experience at NVIDIA. And at that time, I realized that something big is happening within the company as well as outside in the world. So around 2015 timeframe, deep learning really took off, and it was pretty evident at that time that it's going to be a real big thing going forward. I was actually very closely involved in various projects, and we were in a computer vision camera group. And so I was actually able to interact on the user side of things as well, how the products are actually built, how the algorithms actually influence the user behavior, and how to tailor the products in the way. So a lot of it actually went back in and kind of helped me when I started this venture. So I mean, I was always fascinated by mathematical side of the investing, and I mean, I have been a retail investor for almost a decade, right? And while at NVIDIA, I was actually doing a lot of active investing on the side as well. And because there was a lot of pain points I realized that retail investors have during my journey as you're working very hard for a different company, and you're doing investments on the side. It's very hard to find time to invest, and an investment field is particularly a tricky one because you have to really go deep into the balance sheets and look at the price patterns and all. So it's pretty cumbersome for anyone to take up that venture on the side. So at that time, I was starting to build some automations around this and some automated workflows around investing, because it was one of my goals to actually still continue doing investing while I was contributing to the success of the company. So when I started, I mean, obviously when you start, you have like lots of optimism and things look like, okay, I'm gonna conquer this thing overnight. I was like, okay, this is fine as a small project, but if you're gonna build a production level system, it's a different deal altogether. So we were actually faced with a lot of challenges initially. When we started, it was always my vision that there is some sort of an assistive technology which can pair with you as a human, right? They are pretty irrational at times, and this is whole concept of behavioral investing, behavioral science that goes into it, how you actually perceive losses, how you perceive gains. So a lot of it goes into when you are actually investing as a human, right? And what happens is that these emotions actually come into play all the time, and so there is the vision was always to have this assistive technology constantly reminding you of the discipline, right, or the rules that you have to follow in this game to sustain longer, right? It's all about like being in the game longer. And we started in 2019. So 2019 was when things really started to take off. And the biggest challenge we faced was, I mean, I was playing around with different language. That time it was very basic language models. Google's BERT wasn't even out there around that time. And so we were doing all sorts of these old conventional NLP technologies, or playing around with that, like entity recognition and all sorts of training and stuff. And it was super hard. Dreams of what it is right now. Like we really wanted to build at that time. It failed left and right. It was super hard. And so then I kind of like thought like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's first build the data pipelines. Let's first build the overall architecture around it. So we spent a lot of time initially just to build the structure around it, so that right now the system as it stands, it's leveraging all the goodness that we did there. Is like there were a lot of back and forth and brainstorming sessions that we had, like how do we get around the context length, because all these language models have a specific context length, right? And so you have to feed in text in, it's like text in, text out, right? You can only keep certain parts of it in your memory, and then basically you lose the whole thing, right? We were super keen on exploring agentic frameworks. So there were a lot of these sort of agent sort of frameworks where you give tools to the language models, you kind of attach them to the tools, and they kind of automatically try to figure out their ways to solve the user queries. But what we realized very quickly, that that system takes a lot of time to actually between the user's question to the response. So we worked really hard to tailor it in a way. So by the way, all this is built in house. We are not using any of the frameworks. We are not using any of the external frameworks there. So what we did is we kind of took some of the ideas that are in the agentic workflow, we implemented it in-house so that it's more controlled. So first of all, the basic inspiration you can take from any organization is organization has domain experts, right? And so same inspiration, we took it and converted into like, okay, how does an investment organization work? So you can see that it helps you divide and conquer. So it's kind of dividing the major problem into small chunks, and each of these small models that sit there are like a domain expert in there, and we could give personalities to the language model, and that is how they interact. Biggest challenge after that was like, okay, what happens when the user asks a question? We wanted to really make it super simple, right? So the user doesn't need to really understand like, oh, I have to direct this question to this agent. So what we did is we built this routing agent on top, which actually that agent actually has full know of the team. So it's kind of like the head of the team that's sitting there. So there are a couple of different ways we are different. You have seen all I mean, let me talk a little bit about the industry, right? So you could go to a different, you could go to an app and investment app, and they would offer you certain bucketed portfolios. So you could put money into those bucketed portfolios. RAFA is like a co-pilot. So it doesn't matter where you want to invest, it's going to help you the best way it can in that process. So at times you would see, right, hey, I do not want to do index investing. Maybe I want to invest in companies I believe in, right? Let's say you believe in Apple or Google or some other company, right? Now, how do you actually go about putting the money in that company in a diversified way and constructing a portfolio in the best possible way out of it? So that's exactly where we fit in. So RAFA, actually, you just talk to a strategy pro agent. You could ask that agent like, hey, I really like these two stocks, and can you build a portfolio based on these two stocks at all? And it actually does the work, and it's not just textual output that you would see in most of the other tools out there. We actually worked really hard to have generative sort of UX. So it kind of does all the charts. The best possible visual representations are added to it. So we had a very modest initial goal. I mean, our goal was to just go out there, get users' feedback, get 10,000 users, and it was like as quickly as we can, and then start the iterative loop. And what happened on Product Hunt was completely like it was obviously we really wanted like something which is like, hey, it's amazing reviews and on the top of the categories and all, but it was pretty like amazing. And the team actually, I mean, it all goes back to the team. The team did an amazing job overall. Everyone at Portal and Rafa as such. So I mean, we were able to achieve that goal, obviously, and we crossed the 10,000 mark very quickly within a month. Still growing fast and getting a lot of user feedback and kind of iteratively improving. We've already added a bunch of new features to the app since it was first launched. So we're super excited right now, yeah, with the app. Absolutely. There were a lot of there was a lot of feedback we got from the initial launch. A lot of international users came to the app, and we have a feature called portfolio integration, right? And you can integrate your portfolios in. So what we quickly realized is that all these users were they really wanted to try out the app, but we couldn't initially support the international users. So we were kind of like we super focused on US right now. So that was one constructive feedback we got. So we've been working super hard to really expand to global audience. That is one very important thing for us. At the same time, there was a lot of positive feedback. Users actually came back to us saying, hey, you know what, this thing blows our mind. It kind of saves a lot of research work. If I were to actually go and read so much in the news articles and all, it's going to take me like a couple of hours and all going through it. And this AI actually is fully connected to the live news streams. It kind of summarizes and right. So it's pretty good. I mean, overall, we got a lot of constructive feedback, a lot of positive things. And I actually sit down almost on a daily basis. We look at all these reviews. We kind of like also talk to users a lot. We try to get them on a call and see how we can solve their pain points. There is a active user of ours who is from European Union, and they actually came to Rafa. They started really liking the whole product, and they came. They have investments primarily in the US, and so we were kind of like super amazed to see like their interest in Rafa, even though we were not able to support all the functionality that they wanted, but this, and then they came back and said like, hey, you know, I'm able to save almost 6 hours a week on this for using this product, doing it. So it was a big testament to all the stuff, all the hard work which we had done, and we have been putting into the product. So one of the things that came out of the initial feedback was like users wanted a multi-turn sort of a conversational flow. So we just, by the way, we just released that yesterday. So it was a big release. We could actually run them again on a daily basis because finance is different than any conversation you have with ChatGPT on a general topic. Finance, everything changes. Going forward for the next month is going into crypto, basically. So we want to go into cryptocurrency markets, full integration into the centralized exchange and the decentralized exchange, so that crypto users can connect their portfolios like how the US users are able. So that's a big feature for us. My vision is that Rafa becomes a tool that is very hard to avoid when you are doing investing. I mean, it will become a mistake not to use Rafa when you are doing investments. That's basically our goal, to get that thing fit into your workflow. Like they used to do screening, going into websites, going on all these screening websites and all. Now they just ask a random question and it comes back with all the screening results. So we are already seeing positive results. I think down the line, I'm imagining like every serious investor is going to have this app on their phone. I mean, as a builder, obviously, I mean, I was super inclined towards being super focused on the product, right? Getting the technical things right, getting the user experience right. But at the same time, I think there is a very big weight that has to go to distribution. So that is an early lesson I got. Like when you could build the best product in the world, but if no one knows about it, I mean, it's useless, right? Other than this, I enjoy playing tennis and obviously spending time with my kids. It's one of the best use of the time. Some of the users actually come back and they say like, "Hey, what's the story behind Rafa and all?" And I'm like, "Okay, is it somehow related to the tennis legend Rafael Nadal?" Yeah, you could say that in some sense, like because see, there are parallels in both fields. Like you see the grit, you see the hard work that Rafa actually puts in the tennis world. Right? You can apply the same to investing. It's all about the actually have this mentality to never give up, right? So it kind of goes very very hand in hand. I would say distribution again. That would be one thing. We actually spent a lot of time building and perfecting the product, and there is nothing wrong in it. But at the same time, what we could have done well is that while the product was in the works, we could have just started with a distribution strategy as well. And I think now that is exactly what we are super focused on, getting the word out so that users actually know of this amazing piece of tech that exists out there. Yeah, so I think that is something which I would have done differently. And who knows? I mean, we would have been like different right now, but yeah. The most rewarding part, I mean, no doubts about it, the team. We're working with amazing people around you, amazing team members. Each one of them have their own super different sort of talent and they contribute. So everyone coming together, that's the best part, actually. So I would say right now the world has changed a lot. Like if you were a couple of years like back, if you were starting a company, you would start the company and then you would have all the time in the world to actually go and be slow and then get the feedback in. Now, because the technology is building up, it's such a fast pace, speed of execution is everything. So I would say if you're starting something new, it's all about speed of execution. Everything else is after, like it's secondary. So the faster you can execute, the faster you can get user feedback in, and it's like this iterative experiment, right? That keeps running. So you build something, you go and test it out, users come back, you basically either go back to the drawing board again, or you actually move forward that you did something correct, right? And it's all about survival, right? For startups, it's about survival, right? If you can survive the hardships, right, during this initial painful journey, I would say, right, then you could, once you survive, that's it. I mean, after that, the ship takes off. The journey was obviously filled with ups and downs. I mean, we really literally faced a lot of hardships initially, and I had initially the problem. I mean, when you're starting a company, it's always difficult to get the user feedback in. So a lot of the stuff you have to build based on your intuition. So kind of like that's what we did initially. Like that's what I used, a lot of intuitive workflows that I had built for myself. So I was actually building the product for myself initially. So I mean that was the journey, and till the point where we were able to release our first our MVP. It was all my own way of like in analyzing investments and all. That was the reflection. It's my reflection initially. It's basically when we kind of like started, okay, so we have 30, 40, 50% of the stuff that users like. Maybe how do we refine the rest? So that was the journey basically. Once the initial intuition paid off to a certain extent, Then Rafa took off after we got the users in and after they started giving us feedback. Then we actually the product when it was launched, if you look back, it's a completely different beast right now.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for having. I mean, first of all, I'd like to thank you for doing this amazing job, getting our stories out to the users, right? It's an incredible job because a lot of it goes on every day. Like we struggle with challenges, we kind of solve those problems. So it's amazing to get this word out and everyone know about it. Like if you can get your focus right and if you focus on the right problems, right? I mean, there is literally incredible upside in the field. A lot of the old workflows, conventional workflows, will kind of change to this AI-based workflows. Intelligence really doing the job where it was actually built for automation. So I mean, I'm really glad it's taking off now. Bye bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of AllAboutAI.com exclusive interviews. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Abhinav and learned more about how RAFA is transforming the investment world. Stay tuned for more exciting interviews with AI leaders and innovators. Until next time, keep exploring the future of AI with us.